improving. Our experienced cadre of pilots immediately set to work, instructing numerous inexperienced active component pilots and reducing a tremendous backlog of upgrades, both at Kunsan Air Base and Osan Air Base, Korea. To put this in perspective, our instructor pilots quadrupled the number of instructors at the 8th Fighter Wing. Our maintainers similarly demonstrated their experience while improving the maintenance processes and repairs. The 8th Fighter Wing Aerospace ground equipment mechanics were removing and replacing engines on several gas turbine generator sets that required the replacement of a non-procurable gasket, requiring the entire engine to be removed and shipped back to the United States for repairs. Our airmen identified suitable replacement gaskets and worked with the engineers to obtain approval to use them as suitable replacements, repairing them in country and saving tremendous amounts of time and money. When an aircraft developed a fuel leak that was going to require a wing removal, the 8th Fighter Wing only had 2 maintainers with any experience in that maintenance process, which was not enough to accomplish the task. Luckily, our wing, we had 4 maintainers in our deployment package alone that had a tremendous amount of experience in that particular process. And they were able to complete the repair and the removal of that wing and fuel leak in 4 days, less than half the time required for the job, while simultaneously providing a tremendous training experience for the maintainers at the 8th Fighter Wing. During their deployment, our airmen fully integrated into 2 full-scale combat employment exercises, simulating a hostile chemical environment and contaminated water supplies. They responded, generating 12 of 12 aircraft with near 100% air tasking order of execution and 100% 8-hour fix rates. This level of performance and execution was something not normally achieved. After 1 month on station, the 8th Fighter Wing commander, Colonel Shoemaker, relayed to me that you, quote, folded into the 8th Fighter Wing as if they've been here for decades. My experience in the Air Force includes 2 assignments at TFI locations and 4 theater security package units at Kunsan Air Base. This is the best of both the TFI and the TSP I've seen. Commander of Pacific Air Forces, General O'Shaughnessy, took the time to provide feedback directly to the Director of the Air National Guard, Lieutenant General Rice, stating, "The Badgers provided robust experience on the flight line in both ops and maintenance at a time when the Wolfpack needed the experience. On the ops side, the Badgers' experienced instructors helped with many upgrades, and on the maintenance side, the years of experience of many of their NCOs and senior NCOs provided valuable experience to our young maintainers. Thank you and well done." While we are welcoming home our airmen from Korea today, I also want to welcome back our recently returned airmen supporting our nation's hurricane response efforts in Texas, Florida, the Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico. Our RC-26 pilots provided incident awareness and assessment in both Texas and Puerto Rico, identifying critical infrastructure needs as a result of the devastation, while our command post controllers and airfield managers forward deployed and coordinated flight operations throughout the disaster region. Our airmen provided public affairs support in the Virgin Islands, and in Puerto Rico, our GIST team provided immediate communication support, while our services flight provided much needed relief with food and water supplies. It comes as no surprise to any of us that the airmen of the 115th Fighter Wing have surpassed expectations with outstanding performance during this deployment. However, none of this is possible without the amazing support of our family, our friends, and our employers. I want to thank you all for everything you do. And while your loved one or employee is away serving our country, recognize that you are serving as well. When your loved one is deployed, they often miss day-to-day life events, birthdays, anniversaries, parties, celebrations. I want you to know that the 115th Fighter Wing and the state of Wisconsin are grateful that these brave men and women have answered our nation's call to help defend freedom. They are the best trained our total force has to offer our community, our state, and our nation. Whether in Wisconsin, somewhere within the United States, or halfway around the world in Korea, I know that you can count on the airmen of the 115th Fighter Wing to do an outstanding job and continue to show the world that we are the premier fighter wing, with outstanding airmen who are trained, ready, and dedicated. Thank you for your support and sacrifice to ensure our airmen are always ready to deliver dominant combat air power and provide agile support for domestic operations. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce the commander of the 10,000 Airmen and Soldiers of the Wisconsin National Guard, Major General Don Dunbar.
Good morning. What a great day for the state of Wisconsin and our United States Air Force. It's just been a wonderful deployment. Colonel Peterson, thank you for your leadership and for taking the time to explain for our audience here just the impact that this unit has made in Korea. It's really been extraordinary. But before I offer my comments, I want to take a point of personal privilege and invite my command chief to the stage. Chief, you'd like to say a few words?
Well, I'd just like to say, obviously, welcome back. And me and General Dunbar saw firsthand of what this organization can do downrange when we came to visit you. I think it was September. It was, I guess, the most amazing thing I saw. Your airmen are outstanding. And even though we were there only on the ground for 24 hours, it was a great trip. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for your leadership, and you're just doing an outstanding job, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Well done. So first, let me start on behalf of our Commander-in-Chief, Governor Walker, who couldn't be with us this morning, but is committed to the National Guard and the defense of our country. And I've seen that firsthand. I know you have too. But just to put that into context, when the Chief mentioned that we were in Korea, which we were privileged to do, to visit the 115th when they were deployed, the governor was doing a trade mission. And he made time in his schedule to come and visit our unit deployed at Kunsan Air Force Base. And I'll put that in context because he got up at about 3 o'clock in the morning and drove 4 hours to spend about 90 minutes with our airmen, and then got back into a car and drove 4 hours back to where he had to be. And he also, I thought, really put everything into context as he shared with us, those of you who were on the flight line that day with me. He went to the Korean War Memorial in Seoul, and they have a book that they allow folks to sign. And he commented in the book about a friend of his family who had died in the Korean War, and put it in the context by referencing the fact that the Wisconsin Air National Guard and the 115th Fighter Wing was here on that day honoring America's commitment to our ally, South Korea. And I thought that was an awesome thing to do. So, the 115th Fighter Wing has deployed multiple times for combat operations. Tough thing to do. It's even harder to be so good at what you do that you don't have to deploy for combat operations. So the Air Force and the Defense Department has presence missions around the world as a sign of assurance to our allies and as a not too subtle warning to those who might mean harm for us that we're on point and ready. So when the 115th deployed a few months ago and fell in on the Wolfpack, this great historic unit, 8th Fighter Wing, that goes back to the earliest days of our Air Force and been on point for over 60 years since the end of the Korean War, the impact they had on that base, the impact you, airmen, had on that base was extraordinary. You took your experience and you brought your A game and you made that unit much better than they were before you showed up. And you're also smart enough and humble enough to let them teach you things that you didn't know so that we became better in the mission that we have so we can do our mission down the road. When we talk about these concepts like total force, sometimes you can be confused and think it's just like an 8x10 glossy that somebody put out as a salesman or a saleswoman. But the reality is there is great value to the defense of our country in being able to be a total force. And the men and women who designed that concept had exactly what you just did in mind, taking the experience and the skill and the diligence and dedication of the 115th and bringing that to a unit that is younger, but on the front lines of our mission, falling in on them and making yourselves part of the 8th Fighter Wing and standing at a point. Absolutely outstanding job. I couldn't be prouder of the mission you've just accomplished. Families, I want to again thank you. I know how difficult this is. whether it's a combat mission or a presence mission or just going to a school for the United States Air Force, it's time away from your family. It's a sacrifice. They're not there in the morning, they're not there at the recitals, they're not there at the birthdays. It's really difficult. I know how much your airman means to you, and I want you to know how much your support means to us, because if we didn't have the support of our families and our communities and our employers, we simply could not do our job as the Air National Guard in doing our part to defend the country. And at the end of the day, it's about defending the country. We take an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, a document, a rule of law that lays out great principles, and someone has to defend them. And your family members, your airmen, your husbands, your wives, your sons, your daughters, your fathers, your mothers are the ones standing on that point, making sure that this flag continues to fly. I'm proud of you. Great job. Welcome home.
Thank you, General Dunbar. At this time, I ask that you please stand for the benediction and the Air Force song.
Good morning and welcome home to all of our airmen. As you continue to reunite with your family, your friends, and your colleagues, I offer you this benediction. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.
This concludes our ceremony. Thank you for joining us today. In processing will begin momentarily. Please reference the screen and listen for your chalk numbers.